Hey everybody out there. Um, I know I sound like an old guy when I say this, but apparently vlogging is a huge thing nowadays on social media. So what I'll be talking about are two things. Is a trip I took a few days ago. I just got back, and something that you're all, I'm sure, curious about on how I got the baseball announcing job. For those of you who don't know, I have a baseball announcing job. I'm a baseball announcer. So first off, I'm going to tell you what I did last weekend, which was really cool. Today, on April 9th, I just got back from a trip from San Diego with my mom. She just took a business trip to San Diego, and I was tagging along. And originally, there was actually no reason for me to tag along because, you know, we thought there was nothing in walking distance, but when we arrived, there was a lot of things in walking distance. But as I was looking for something to do in San Diego, I remembered that my cousin Victor told me about, who lives in San Diego, by the way, told me about this model train museum, and I I'm a trainaholic. I love trains. So I looked it up, and I was calculating the route from the hotel to the museum, and it was about a 10-minute drive, so it was cool. And when we got there, I was originally going to take Uber, and my dumbfounded mind didn't realize that Uber only accepts credit cards or debit cards and not cash. And that was a bit of a problem. So I had to have my mom drive me, which also was a bit of a hassle because she was kind of in a hurry, but luckily everything worked out okay. So now the museum, the model train museum was outstanding. If you love model trains, that is the place for you. I was like a kid in a candy store. It was amazing. There was N gauge, HO gauge, O gauge. Due to weather, the garden gauge, the garden railroads were closed, but no big deal. I was happy where I was. And one another cool thing is there was a guy working the N gauge layout, which stands for narrow gauge, which is a really small one, and he invited me in. Uh, and apparently, if you're an adult, you can go inside the layouts, to check it out and stuff and get a tour. And I told him that I used to work in a train shop, which I used to. It was my first job. I worked there when I was in high school, and so he assumed that I knew how to run the trains, which I did, and it was a lot of fun. The train that I ran was a coaster train, which runs throughout San Diego, and this whole train layout that he had was basically modeled uh, of San Diego, Oceanside, and just everywhere in that particular area. That was basically uh, that whole thing was modeled in the 1950s, or modeled after the 1950s. And uh, so I ran the train, and the realistic part of it was there was uh, a station, a train station modeled after the San Diego station, and a little bit farther, like to the right of it, was an Oceanside station, and that's literally the route on Coaster, which is a commuter train in that neck of the woods. And that's literally the route from with Coaster from San Diego to Oceanside. And the train had a cab car on it. And for those of you who don't know what a cab car is. Oh, let me ask you this: have you ever seen a train going in the wrong direction with the engine in the back and nothing in the front? Well, actually, what was in the front is a car which is called a cab car, and it's basically a passenger car. It's the very last car on the train, and it has a little control room, which is like a cab. So you do, so and they have that, so so the trains don't have to have locomotives on either side. They have a cab car, and anyway, so long story short, I ran the train from the San Diego station to the Oceanside station, which was realistic and it was really cool. Then, when I went to the O gauge room, I saw uh, O gauge. By the way, is like about this big. It's it's my gauge. It's what I work with. I'm a model railroader myself. And most of the trains on that layout were MTH or Mike's Train House, which is used to be a competitor for Lionel, but I think Mike Wolf owns that company now. But anyway, I want to go off on that. Bottom line, I was in heaven in that shop. It was amazing. And then after that, my mom and I went to go have dinner with our cousin who is currently in law school. Go Victor. He currently has a PhD, and he's getting his JD pretty soon. Godspeed. And so it was. And I didn't want to leave out that on the way back home we stopped at Mission San Juan Capistrano, and we took a little self tour of it. So that was awesome. So now the story on how I got the baseball announcer job. So right now I go to Long Beach City College here in Long Beach, California, and uh, originally I was supposed to broadcast a baseball game. I was supposed to broadcast a baseball game via radio because I'm taking a radio class in college. And unfortunately, we couldn't because there. You see, the way we broadcast on the radio is we hook up a phone line or a little dial box to a phone line or like a little telephone base, an old school phone base in the dugout, and and then what we do is we type in a little code on the dial box, and it calls the radio station, and we type in another code, and then we're live. Unfortunately, the phone line in the dugout was dead, so we couldn't do that. And so about a week later, I was talking one of the with one of the head honchos of the baseball team, who happens to be one of the coaches, and I said I'm looking for an announcing gig, and he said it's funny you should mention that. He told me that we're looking for announcers for other teams like the Long Beach Legends and the Signal Oilers, and I said, are they minor league teams? He said, oh no, they're just club teams that play here at Long Beach City College, and we're looking for announcers. And I said, really? Well, and so well, I'm your guy if you need me. And he said, all right, here's my card, and email me back or call me or whatever, if you're interested. So later that day, I emailed him, said I was interested. He emails me back a day later and says, I'm glad you're interested, we'll talk, and we'll keep in touch. And about 4 weeks later, when I went to another baseball game, I talked to his name is John, by the way, my new boss, and I said, how's it looking? And he said, you're in, kid. You're in. You're hired. And so it was pretty cool when I found out. Now, I don't start my job until Memorial Day in May, but in the meantime, I'm being trained. I'm being trained to be an announcer, and I don't do any play-by-plays or anything like that. What I do is, for those of you who go to baseball games, you'll understand. What I do at the games, I announce on the loudspeaker, and I start out with, "Welcome to Long Beach baseball," and so on, and then I announce the starting lineup from the opposing team, then the home team. Then I say, "Please rise for our national anthem," and then we do that. And then throughout the game, I announce batters that come on the bat, and I say, "Number 42, Mr. Jackson Foss, third base," and that kind of thing. And then I just go on and on and on throughout the game. And at the end of the game, and also in between innings, I say, "The current score is so and so as we head to the bottom of the fourth." And then at the end of the game, I say the final score, and I say, "Thank you for joining us with Long Beach Baseball, and next game is blah, blah, blah," and so on. So that is the story on how I got my baseball announcing job. Now, hopefully this will be a perfect thing to put on a resume to, again, hopefully get a job with, announcing with the Angels or maybe even the Dodgers. I mean, who knows? My career is staring me right dead in the face, and I gotta go forth in combat. So that's the scoop, and I'm gonna try to do as many vlogs as I can. Not gonna do them every day because that's repetitive. So maybe do like one, maybe two blogs a week, or vlogs, excuse me, one, maybe two vlogs a week, and any interesting thing that goes on in my life, I'll let you know. All right, so this is Noah saying sayonara.